just look at the idea that, political parties have to manage gender, if you were to trace it off to the left, one of the things you have to say is, while the left doesn't have an obsession with pedophilia, the left, and by this I mean the kind of identity politics, left liberalism, is obsessed with the body as well. It's obsessed with its own version of masculinity. And if you look to see what the way the parties both present bodies as victims, what you quickly see is that Tucker Carlson is saying American men's bodies are a subject of anxiety. There's a contest over the masculinity, and we need to rescue men and save men in all the ways that he's describing. Now, as absurd as that sounds, what is it doing? And what it does is produce a feeling in probably mostly white, but produce a feeling in men, probably Republican men for the most part, probably 99.9%. And at a very minimum, it's trying to produce this feeling in his audience, but it's taking those men and saying, you are not bodies of privilege. You are not bodies of class rule. You are not bodies of dominance over others. You are not the hegemonic population. You're under attack. And once you create that feeling of panic and fear, you're starting to mobilize your group. And you could offer them the kind of Alex Jones, pills, which is the testicle tanning. Like, you can offer them a solution that is costing money as a way to promote a product and just kind of capitalize on the anxiety, which is what every commercial basically does that's around the body. Is your skin soft enough?
Oh,
use
yeah.
Dove. So, yeah, right. So you can take it that route. But the other way to put it is, well, the Democratic Party, and I'm not trying to touch a third rail here, but look at issues around, on both sides, for instance, abortion. Look at issues on both sides around police violence. Look at issues on both sides about LGBTQI plus rights. And what you start to see, and what every Democrat or left liberal person, or I'm trying to go dead alien on it a little bit here, but what they would all say is, but yes, Justin, those are all groups that are quote unquote like actually under attack from the Republican side. And I'm not here to adjudicate that. I'd probably mostly agree, because emotionally I identify with that. But what I'm trying to do by saying that both parties are quote unquote doing it, it's not about a whataboutism. It's a way to say you kind of have to manufacture narratives of victimization and attack. And then notice that that's what both sides accuse the other one of being, because to the degree that you don't share the affect, the whole move is kind of transparent. Like, there is no grooming pedo crisis in the public schools of Florida. There is no actual crisis of white masculinity. If anything, people feel very strongly on the left side of identity politics that white men are a continuing burden and problem and leech and vampire on the society. But in terms of the different stories, if you look at them and say, what are they doing? They're making people feel panicked and under attack. And people could point to legislation on the left and say, and this is the broad left, and say, but Justin, they are taking gender identity out of kindergarten to third grade. But Justin, they are trying to take away women's rights to have abortion. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that in the field of the culture war, when you say culture war, it kind of makes it sound like, oh, people are fighting about Seinfeld and movies, man. No, they're not. What culture war is a euphemism for fights about normative masculinity or queer masculinity. What is queer identity? In fact, culture war at this point, if you read queer most broadly, culture war is a fight over the queering of society starting in the 1960s.